Neon lights reflected on the wet pavement, people hurried with umbrellas, and cars splashed water as they rushed through the busy streets. Amidst the chaos of honking horns and hurried footsteps, one fragile sound slowly rose above the noise, the soft strumming of a worn-out guitar. At the corner of 7th Street, a boy sat on a cold concrete step. His clothes were faded, his shoes torn, and his hair messy from the downpour. The guitar on his lap was missing a string, its body scratched and battered from years of use. But the boy's hands held it like a priceless treasure. His name was Ethan, just 15 years old, and for him, this corner was more than a place to sit, it was his stage, his only chance to be heard. People passed by, barely noticing him. Some glanced and looked away, others tightened their coats and hurried past. To them, he was just another street kid trying to make a few coins. But Ethan wasn't there for spare change. He was there for something deeper, something he himself couldn't fully explain. Maybe it was hope, maybe it was survival, or maybe it was the dream that one day, his voice could break through the walls that life had built around him. That evening, as the rain eased, Ethan closed his eyes and began to sing. The first chords of Hotel California floated into the night air, raw and unpolished yet strangely captivating. His voice carried a haunting vulnerability, the kind that made strangers pause without knowing why. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't polished, but it was real. A young couple stopped under the glow of a street lamp, listening quietly. A man waiting for a taxi slowed down, drawn to the sound. And then, as Ethan's voice trembled on the words, "You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave," something magical happened. Silence fell over the corner. The city's rush seemed to pause, if only for a moment. But behind that voice was a story far heavier than the notes he sang. Ethan's past. Ethan hadn't always been on the streets. Just 2 years earlier, he lived in a small apartment with his mother, Laura. His father had left when Ethan was only 8, leaving Laura to raise him alone. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices by night and waiting tables by day. Life was hard, but she always told Ethan, "As long as we have music, we'll survive." She was the one who gave him the guitar, her father's old instrument, and taught him his first chords. But when illness struck, everything changed. Laura was diagnosed with a chronic heart condition. Hospital bills mounted, and soon their savings vanished. Ethan tried to help, playing on street corners after school, hoping to bring in just enough money for groceries or medicine. He was too young for real work, too young for responsibility, but life didn't care. Life demanded. When Laura's health worsened, Ethan dropped out of school to care for her. Days were spent at the hospital, nights on the street, singing to strangers who mostly walked past. The boy who once dreamed of stages and lights was now just fighting to keep the lights on at home. The street is a stage. Despite everything, Ethan refused to give up. Every time he sang, he poured all his pain, all his love, all his desperation into the music. He wasn't just singing songs, he was telling his story in every note. He believed, somehow, that if he kept playing, someone, anyone, would hear him. On most nights, his audience was just shadows. But tonight felt different. His voice was stronger, braver, carrying years of hidden pain. As the crowd slowly grew, phones appeared, recording him, sharing him. Ethan didn't notice. His eyes were closed, lost in the lyrics, lost in the world where his mother was healthy and his father was still home, lost in the dream that maybe his voice mattered. One of those recording was a woman named Grace, who had stopped on her way home from a late shift. She wasn't just any passerby. Grace was the wife of a local music producer, and something about Ethan's voice struck her to the core. It wasn't fame or skill she heard, it was truth. She pressed record, capturing the boy's trembling yet powerful rendition of Hotel California. She had no idea that this single act would change everything. When Ethan finished, silence lingered. Then applause broke out, small at first, then growing. A few people tossed coins into his guitar case. Ethan smiled shyly, whispering, "Thank you," though what he truly wanted wasn't money. It was connection, and tonight, for the first time in a long while, he felt it. But he didn't know that the video Grace posted online that night would soon reach millions. And he didn't know that his mother, lying weak in her hospital bed, would one day hear her son's voice echoing across the world. That night, after recording Ethan, Grace sat in her car for a long time. She replayed the video again and again, watching the boy's fragile figure clutching his battered guitar, hearing the raw power behind every note. She whispered to herself, the world needs to hear this. Without hesitation, she uploaded the clip to her social media account, adding only a simple caption. Found this boy singing in the rain tonight. His voice broke my heart. Please listen. At first, nothing happened. A few likes, a few shares. But by morning, the video had reached thousands. By afternoon, it was hundreds of thousands. And by nightfall, Ethan's voice had crossed oceans, touching millions across the globe. People commented, "This gave me chills. Pure emotion. He sings like he's carrying the weight of the world. I cried listening. Who is this boy?" In homes from New York to Manila, from London to Sao Paulo, people were pausing their busy lives to listen to a street boy sing Hotel California. It wasn't just his voice, it was the story written in every trembling note. Ethan's world changes, but he doesn't know yet. While his video spread like wildfire online, Ethan remained on 7th Street, unaware of the storm he had started. He played the same corner, earning just enough coins to buy bread and soup for himself and to take a bus to visit his mother in the hospital. Laura was getting weaker, her heart condition had worsened, and doctors spoke in cautious tones. Yet whenever Ethan walked into her room with his tired smile, she felt hope spark within her. "Did you sing tonight?" she would ask, her voice faint. "Always," Ethan replied, holding her hand. She would close her eyes and whisper, "One day, the world will hear you, my boy. And when they do, they'll never forget." Ethan smiled, though in his heart he doubted. The world was too big. He was just one boy with one broken guitar. But for her sake, he kept believing. The call. 2 days later, Grace returned to the street corner. Ethan was there, as always, playing to strangers. She approached him cautiously. "You're Ethan, right?" she asked. He looked up, startled. Yeah, do I know you? My name's Grace. I filmed you the other night. Your video is everywhere. Millions of people have seen it." Ethan blinked, confused. "Millions? What do you mean?" She showed him her phone. There it was, his face, his voice, replayed in countless shares and comments. His eyes widened, his lips parted in disbelief. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. "That's me." "Yes," Grace said, smiling. "That's you. And people love you, Ethan. They're moved by you." The boy's throat tightened. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had been invisible for so long, ignored, overlooked, unseen. And now, suddenly, the world was listening. Backlash of fame. With the video's explosion came attention Ethan wasn't ready for. Reporters began searching for him, strangers crowded his street corner, and some people even doubted his authenticity. "Too good to be real," they said. Others criticized, mocked, or tried to exploit him. For a boy who had lived in shadows, the spotlight was both dazzling and terrifying. He confided in Laura during one hospital visit, "Mom, I don't know if I can handle this. I just wanted to sing, not to be famous." Laura squeezed his hand. "Ethan, fame is not the point. Touching hearts is. If your voice can heal even one person, then it's worth it. And maybe, just maybe, it can heal you too." Her words echoed in him, steadying his fear. The viral effect. As days passed, Ethan's story became a symbol of hope. News anchors spoke of the street boy whose song touched the world. Celebrities shared his video. Musicians tweeted about him. People donated money, asking how they could help. But the most powerful impact wasn't fame, it was the quiet messages that poured in. A widow wrote, "Hearing you sing gave me the strength to face tomorrow." A soldier overseas said, "Your voice reminded me of home. Thank you." A sick child messaged, "I want to sing like you when I get better." Each word was a reminder that Ethan's voice wasn't just entertainment. It was medicine for broken hearts. An unexpected invitation. One evening, Grace returned again, this time with her husband, Daniel, the music producer. He listened carefully as Ethan sang under the flickering street lamp. When Ethan finished, Daniel approached him. "You don't just sing," Daniel said. "You tell stories with your voice. Have you ever recorded in a real studio?" Ethan shook his head nervously. "No, sir. Just here, on the street." Daniel smiled. "Then it's time the world hears you properly." For the first time, Ethan felt a door open before him, a door to the very dream he had long buried. But part of him hesitated. Recording in a studio meant leaving behind the street corner where he had learned to survive. Could he really take that step? The mother's secret. That night at the hospital, Ethan told Laura about the offer. Tears welled in her eyes. Ethan, she whispered, her voice trembling. There's something I've never told you. When I was your age, I wanted to be a singer too. But life had other plans. Now, seeing you, hearing you, it's like my dream is alive again through you. Ethan froze, stunned. His mother, his inspiration, had carried the same dream all along. And in that moment, he knew, this wasn't just his chance. It was hers too. The next week felt like a dream. For the first time in his life, Ethan walked into a recording studio. The walls were lined with instruments he had only ever seen in magazines. The microphone in front of him gleamed under the soft light. His heart pounded. He wasn't sure if he belonged here. Grace smiled from behind the glass. Daniel gave him a reassuring nod. Just do what you always do, Daniel said through the speaker. Sing like you're on that street corner, singing for the only person who matters. Ethan closed his eyes, and he sang. This time, his voice was fuller, clearer, free of the wind and traffic that usually drowned him out. Yet it carried the same raw truth, the same fragile strength that had first captured the world. He sang Hotel California not just as a song, but as a story, his story. Every note was a memory. The nights of hunger, the hours in the hospital, the prayers whispered into the darkness. When he finished, silence filled the studio. Daniel's eyes glistened. Grace pressed her hands to her heart. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel whispered, Ethan, that wasn't just music. That was soul. The world listens. The recording was released online. Within hours, it soared across platforms. Within days, it was everywhere, on radios, television shows, podcasts. People who had never cared for music before found themselves replaying it late at night, weeping without knowing why. Concert organizers reached out. Charities asked him to perform. Talk shows wanted him. Ethan's name was suddenly on everyone's lips. But through it all, Ethan kept thinking of only one person, his mother. The hospital room. Laura's condition had worsened. Machines beeped softly around her bed, her breath shallow. Ethan sat beside her, holding her frail hand. Mom, he said gently, I have something to play for you. He took out his phone, pressed play. His own voice filled the hospital room, clear, strong, echoing through the sterile walls. Nurses paused in the hallway, listening. Patients down the corridor turned their heads. Laura's eyes fluttered open. As the song swelled, tears streamed down her cheeks. She reached for her son's face with trembling fingers. That's you, she whispered. Ethan nodded, choking back his own tears. Her voice was weak, but steady. Ethan, you've done it. You've touched the world, and you've touched me. My dream, our dream, it's alive. For a moment, time stood still. The beeping machines, the sterile lights, the weight of sickness, none of it mattered. What mattered was a mother hearing her son's voice not just in the room, but across the world. A gift returned. Not long after, Ethan was invited to perform live at a charity concert. The audience filled the hall, thousands of faces, cameras flashing, anticipation thick in the air. When the spotlight found him, Ethan didn't see the crowd. He saw his mother. He imagined her smile, her encouragement. And so he sang. But when the organizers handed him his first real paycheck, a sum larger than anything he'd ever dreamed, Ethan didn't keep it for himself. He walked straight to the hospital's children's wing and donated it all. These kids, he said softly to the astonished staff, they need hope more than I need money. Music gave me hope. Maybe it can give them the same. News of his generosity spread as quickly as his voice had. The world saw not just talent, but heart. The message that lasted. Weeks later, Laura passed peacefully, holding Ethan's hand as his song played softly in the background. Her last words to him were simple, but eternal. Never stop singing. The world needs your voice. Ethan kept that promise. He sang not for fame, not for money, but for connection, for the lonely widow, the tired worker, the struggling child. His concerts became gatherings of souls, not just audiences. People left not just entertained, but healed. And though his path began on a rainy street corner with a broken guitar, his journey showed the world that greatness isn't measured by stages or lights. It's measured by how deeply one voice can touch another heart. Closing words. The boy who once felt invisible had become a beacon. He proved that even the smallest, most overlooked voice could echo across the world and mend broken spirits. And so, whenever people replayed that first trembling version of Hotel California, they weren't just hearing a song. They were hearing a promise, that kindness, sacrifice, and love will always find a way to be heard. Because sometimes, a voice doesn't just sing. Sometimes, a voice heals the world. Globe Heart Break Sparkles.